All right, I am speaking with Representative David Eastman of Alaska. And Representative Eastman, thank you for allowing us to interview you, first of all. Can you tell me what district you represent in Alaska?
I represent Wautzilla in the Matsu borough, call them. We don't have counties in Alaska. That's House District 10.
Okay, House District 10. Can you tell us the bill number that you have written and if it has a title?
Yes, House Bill 178, which is the Abolish Abortion in Alaska Act, or the Alaska Life and Conception Act.
Okay. When did you write this bill initially?
This is very similar to the bill that I presented 2 years ago in the State House, and so a couple 3 years ago.
Okay. What are the features of House Bill 178 that make it different than any other pro-life bill?
Well, the central reason for writing the bill is because we currently have a failure to apply our state constitution to protecting the unborn, and it simply recognizes that the unborn have the same rights that all the rest of us do as human beings, and so it simply removes the exception, which basically denies them their constitutional rights.
Okay. Um, so this bill would abolish all abortion from conception?
Well, I wish I could abolish all abortions, like I wish I could abolish all murder. What the law does, it simply says that it's illegal, and it treats an abortion the same as murder. And hopefully that means that when we enforce that law, those numbers will go down. But I don't know that we'll ever be able to eliminate murder completely from society.
Right. But it would criminalize abortion as murder on an equal level as murder?
Yes, we already have some of that language in our state laws and in our state constitution. It's just we have an exception currently that we've written in that says this doesn't apply to abortion, so it removes that exception.
I see. Okay. How do you plan to get around Roe versus Wade, for example, with your bill?
Well, Roe versus Wade, like any judicial interpretation, it can be right, it can be wrong. In this case, Roe versus Wade is not constitutional. It's not what the laws that we passed have reflected. It's not keeping with the rights of the unborn. And in our state constitution, we have rights that we recognize, or in theory we recognize, and it ensures that those recognitions are enforced.
Okay. So if the federal courts, for example, issue an injunction against House Bill 178, let's say it's passed and the courts issue an injunction, what do you plan to do about that? Or is that written into the bill?
Well, if you might go back a couple of years ago here in Alaska, we recognized that some of the things that the federal courts were doing were unconstitutional, dealing with drug laws and enforcement. And of course, we in Alaska recognize in state law that marijuana is a regulated industry, and we have our state laws that govern that process, and we expect those to be followed. And if the federal government is going to try and say unconstitutionally that we can't regulate that industry, then that's a mistake on their part, and we're following our state laws.
Okay. Now, I noticed Alaska has a privacy clause in its constitution, and I'm particularly interested in that because Florida has a privacy clause in our constitution as well. As a matter of fact, ours is Article 1, Section 22, or Section 23, and yours is Article 1, Section 22, I believe. So I was wondering, how do you plan to get around that privacy clause? It looks like both privacy clauses of both states have been used to justify or allow abortions before in the past. So have you written something into House Bill 178 that gets around that?
So actually, I have no intention of getting around our privacy clause. I fully support our privacy clause. I think it's excellent, and there's nothing I would do to change that. It was implemented a few decades back, dealing with limiting unconstitutional government electronic surveillance of Alaskans, and I
Oh,
continue to support that. But just as if you were to take say a hunting provision in which we also have rights for in our state and interpret that that permits the hunting of the unborn, I think it would be just as laughable because the one has nothing to do with the other.
okay. So does the House bill make any mention of the privacy clause or not?
So in Alaska, our legislature implements the provisions of some of our constitutional provisions, including our privacy clause, and it specifically forbids the court from interpreting privacy to mean something having to do with abortion. So it makes it clear that, as with the example I just gave, those are two entirely different concepts, and one has nothing to do with the other.
I
Privacy is good, I support it, and it has nothing to do with killing people.
okay. That's great. Let me see here. Did you file pro-life bills in the past?
Yeah, we've had this same or similar bill each year that I've been elected. I was first elected in 2016.
Okay. So the bills that you've filed in the past, have they all been abolitionist bills? Or have they?
So we have a number of bills, and we've always had this bill as the first and most important bill. And then in addition, we have some other bills that only support and uplift this bill.
Okay. So you've never filed, say, a heartbeat bill, for example?
No, we've never done that. So, for example, in my first term, we filed House Bill 250 and 251. 250 was the Life Conception Act, and 251 was the Responsible Judges Act, and that's where we, in state law, spell out what's already the case in theory, that judges are constitutional office holders, and just like all other constitutional office holders in our state, they are subject to impeachment if they violate their duties as an office holder. And so it's just reminding the legislature, as well as the judges, that we expect and require them to do their duty. And if they're going to do something that's outside of their duty and that is unconstitutional, then they have every right to expect that they might be impeached.
All right. Um, does House Bill 178 criminalize all persons involved in an illegal abortion?
Everything is exactly the same as far as murder. Anyone who is committing murder is equally liable.
Okay. What kind of support have you had from your constituents regarding this bill?
It's been the most popular bill that I've put forward, and there are a lot of people who were, every time, it would come up before I filed it, lots of people asking me, when's it coming, and so a lot of support.
Okay, that's wonderful. Have you received support from other representatives or senators in Alaska, co-sponsors?
Yes, I currently have one co-sponsor in the House, and if it ever got to the Senate, then we could look for co-sponsors there as well.
Okay, so does it have to clear the House first and then get to the Senate in Alaska, or?
Yes.
Okay,
In this case, it's whichever bill it starts in, it starts in that chamber and moves to the other. And in this case, since I'm in the House, it starts in the House.
okay. What kind of opposition have you received and from whom?
Well, probably the usual players. I'm no friend of Planned Parenthood, and they don't expect any good things coming from me as far as their agenda goes. Unfortunately, in Alaska, they really do have a stranglehold on our legislature. So there's plenty of legislators that have been endorsed and received donations from Planned Parenthood,
Mm-hmm.
and I have not received any support from that direction.
Okay. What is the current status of House Bill 178?
So the chair of Health and Social Services, which is a committee that I've sat on in the past, has declared that she has no plans to give the bill a hearing, and she's going to single that bill out specifically for being denied due process in the House.
Hmm.
And since the majority of that committee are endorsed and receive money from Planned Parenthood, there's a lot of opposition in that particular.
Okay. How much time is left in your session before that bill lives or dies for the session?
Normally, that session is going to go till sometime around June of next year, and then it being an election year, this year the session went into August, but I think with an election coming up next year, probably won't go that long.
Okay. Um, are are you up for re-election? What are your future career plans?
Yes, every 2 years, House representatives are up for election, so I'll be running in the primary in August, and then if I win in the primary, then I would run in the general in November.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for speaking with us, and boy, I wish you every blessing, and we'll pray for this bill, that this bill is passed. And thank you for your inspiration. I hope that you can inspire our legislature to grow a backbone and to file bills of abolition and recognize all life as sacred. So thank you once again.
Absolutely. Well, sure. Well, in my experience, when you recognize that someone is going to oppose exactly what you're standing for, you can kind of pretend that opposition isn't there, and you can try and go to something else. I had one legislator told me that this wasn't a good bill because Planned Parenthood wouldn't like it, and so we should come up with a pro-life bill that Planned Parenthood likes. And if that's your strategy, good luck. Find such a bill that they don't oppose. I think it's probably not a bill worth passing. So stop wasting your time.
Right. All right. Well, thank you once again for speaking with us, and we will be watching and praying for your bill and for you.
All right.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Bonnie. Have a
Thank
great day.
you. You too. God bless you.